Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Saturdays with Dad in Zoom form.
Hi.
This is like a little trial episode because I've not been home for a while and I'm not going to be home for a while. So I'm testing out the whole Zoom thing. Let me know if it works. If it doesn't, whatever. It also gives us more of an opportunity to talk for a bit longer and have longer opinions because it means I don't need to do, as much editing. Before we start the video, I have merch. So if you want to get some of that, it's all in the description, as well as my Spotify account and all my social medias are all in the description if you would like to, get yourself some Prog Nerd t-shirts or, buy a record for someone because we have a record store as well. So what is today's video, you may ask? Well, you've probably read the title already. We are going to be discussing our favorite records from the year 1972 because all the albums we're going to be talking about will be hitting the 50 years mark. So tell us your best memories of 1972, Dad.
Well, there is, I have to say, that's a leading question, honey, because I think you know the answer to that. Of all the people in the wide world, you know the answer to that. 8th of April 1972, Empire Pool, Wembley, the Grateful Dead. It's one of the first gigs I ever went to when I, as a teenager or a late teenager, and I only really just got into the Dead at school. And I just had to go and see them because they're like, spotting a white rhino or something. They're just so rare. European concerts by them, they were outstanding. They're absolutely outstanding. And for a lot of the European people, it was the last chance, albeit we didn't know that we could see Ron McKernan on stage. But no, magnificent, absolutely magnificent.
Is that the concert they were late on?
Oh no, that was a couple of years later in Alexandra Palace.
Oh, right, okay. You saw Genesis as well, right? In 1972?
Yeah, 72 was a great year for gigs as well as music. I managed to see the Moody Blues, the Dead, obviously, Santana, I saw in 1972. They were really good. So there's, ironically, all at the same venue, I think, Empire Pool in Wembley. That's why I sort of have a strange affinity to the Wembley Arena, which obviously was the Empire Pool.
So the one next to the stadium?
Exactly, yeah.
I've seen a few gigs there, actually.
Yeah.
While I've been alive.
Sorry?
We've seen a few gigs there while I've been alive.
Yeah, ZZ Top, Leonard Skinner.
Me and Mum saw Queen and Adam Lambert.
And not forgetting the Tedeschi Trucks band with Blackberry Smoke.
Yeah.
Which were fantastic.
Yeah, so good year, I guess. And we'll be talking about that now. So yes. Because it's Saturdays with Dad, you can have the first pick. Do you want to pick from yours or pick from mine?
Just pick from yours, if that's
Here's the first one from your pile.
Whoa. Right. David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. It's a testament to the brilliance of David Bowie that, in fact, it's probably my third favorite album of his, but it still makes this because it's such an essential album. There were all these pretenders and glam rock and everything like that sort of came and went, whereas just Bowie just metamorphosized himself into different kind of things. Anyhow, I digress. This album is just unbelievable, and it's not just the great songs on it, Suffragette City and things like that, and Ziggy Stardust, Starman. It's just a fantastic album. And of course, one of the great guitarists in the Spiders from Mars, which was Mick Ronson. The best thing ever to come out of Humberside, you know, without any doubt. He was just unbelievable that as a guitarist. And, you know, this would, to me, be Bowie's greatest album if it wasn't for Aladdin Sane and, of course, the greatness that is Station to Station, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. But 1972, an essential. Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars by David Bowie.
That is a great kickoff to the episode. So my first one for my pile is Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Trilogy, and this is probably now my favorite of the Emerson, Lake and Palmer discography. Every track on this I love, and it's the same with Tarkus as well, but I just think that every song on here has had a very lasting thing on me, because this album I got into during the lockdown, conveniently 2 years almost to the day, and it really got me through that lockdown. Not just the album, but the band as well. This has some great tracks on it. Obviously, The Endless Enigma Part 1 and 2. Obviously, everyone knows From the Beginning. Yeah. Everyone knows that intro so well. Yeah. It's got Hoedown, the actual title track, and it's just an amazing, amazing prog rock classic. So, Trilogy, Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Okie dokie. Well, I'm going to choose one of the albums here, right? Which is probably an artist for people just to simply label him as a country and western artist, which intrinsically I suppose he was. But he wasn't just that. He was a great, great, great songwriter. I am, of course, talking about Townes Van Zandt. Why is this blurred?
Yeah, it's because it's blurred in with the background, because the background's white. Maybe hold it in front of you. There we go.
So this is the late, great Townes Van Zandt. A lot of it is about his life as a hobo, being tossed out of Texas. You know, he's a real troubled man, but a great, great songwriter. We know how much Steve Earle loves him, and I do as well. And in Punchline Lefty, I mean, what a great, beautiful song. A lot of people like Lyle Lovett really recognizes his brilliance. Another, you know, like, I don't know what it is about me, I just seem to like musicians that are very troubled, and he certainly was, and but what a great legacy. So this is the late, great Townes Van Zandt, and by, of course, Townes Van Zandt.
Very cool. My next two are going to be together because they are by the same artist that released 2 albums in 1 year, and I am, of course, talking about Gentle Giant, Octopus, and Three Friends. Three Friends is my favorite of the 2 that came out in 1972. I wouldn't call them underrated necessarily in the progressive rock community, but definitely more in the general music community, I'd call them underrated. Some really great songwriting and musicianship featured on both of these records. This is a concept album as well, and it's so beautifully written. It's about, as you can probably imagine, 3 friends and how they drifted apart, and it really resonated with me because similar experiences, I guess. And it's one that I hold very, very close to me. And this one also I hold quite close to me as well, because I got into this group during the lockdown of 2020. I think it was some of you guys actually recommended me Gentle Giant when I had just started off my YouTube channel. When I made my top 10 prog albums list, a lot of people were saying, oh, good, get into Gentle Giant. So I did, and these 2 albums are absolutely amazing. On Octopus, I love Think of Me with Kindness, my bad. I love the horn solo in the middle of the track, and obviously I can't pick a favorite song from Three Friends because it's all just amazing, but I do love the title track which closes the album, and I do also like Working All Day. So these 2 albums, very, very strong albums, and definitely pick them up if you haven't yet. I know Gentle Giant vinyl is quite hard to find, so I'm using CD to demonstrate today, but good luck if you find them.
Excellent.
So Pick one from my pile.
Yeah, okie dokie. Ooh. Neil Young Harvest. Uh, after the Gold Rush, this is my favorite album of his, and it's to me Heart of Gold and things like that, and it's just a wonderful album created by a wonderful musician, composer, and it sort of came at a time where I think Neil Young was looking at different directions, sort of almost orchestral kind of stuff as well. But to me, it's right up there, one of the greatest albums of all time. I can't go too highly on that. I think that possibly, well, the actual track "Heart of Gold" is it's just a great album, great song. But there's so many others that it's an album that I would highly recommend.
I actually had to study one of the tracks on this album in one of my lessons recently.
Which one was that?
Old Man.
Old Man, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you.
Yeah, I really like that.
Great song.
So
absolutely great. Is the Needle and the Damage done on that album? Is it?
Yeah, that's on here.
That's fantastic as well. Yeah.
Very nice.
Well, anyway, that's great. Neil Young Harvest.
All right, so my next one, Obscured by Clouds, Pink Floyd.
Does actually look quite obscured on the screen.
It does actually. So this is actually a movie soundtrack for a French movie, I believe. And it's just an absolutely amazing album. It's really got a lot of really nice melodies and songwriting on it. What's the Deal is probably my favorite from this album. I mean, where can you go wrong? It's Pink Floyd. What else can I say? They're my top 3 bands of all time. And this is actually one of the Pink Floyd albums that I'm kind of late to, in terms of my generation, if you will. Because I always listened to the albums that surrounded this album, you know, Metal before it and then Dark Side onwards after it. Yeah. I never really gave this one much time, and when I did, I was very happy that I did.
It's a good album. It's a great album.
So I really enjoyed this one, and yeah, Obscured by Clouds.
Right. Now I'm going on to an album. We can talk about Pet Sounds. We can talk about Today. We can talk about Surf's Up. All of these are absolute classic albums. But there's something about this album, Carl and the Passion. Whoa.
You might have to hold it in front of you again.
Carl and the Passion, so tough. This is a great album, predominantly as a songwriter. It features Dennis Wilson a lot more on lead vocals, as well as his own compositions like Cuddle Up. And I think that, you know, to me, it's certainly one of my favorite albums of theirs. Well, there's a lot of it you can sort of take or leave. But, you know, when they hit it, you know, hey, Marcella and stuff like that. And of course, All This Is That, which is just wonderful, absolutely incredible. And it's the Beach Boys at their best.
Very nice.
So that's Carl and the Passions.
Very nice. So my next one, we can all love this one. This is Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull. Again, I'm a little late to the Jethro Tull train. So when I actually got round to listening to this and some of their other stuff, but particularly this one was the one I was drawn to the most. I guess I like the idea of it just being 2 tracks at 20 minutes each, and just having some really cool structure to it and all that. But talking the structure, I really enjoy the structure of the album. I'd say the first part is probably my favorite, although the second and the ending of the album is really good as well. It's a great take on concept albums and spoofing on them. It's really great. Musicianship, where do you go wrong? And to anyone who doesn't think that the flute is the most prog instrument, what are you doing? It definitely is.
Yep. Without any doubt.
And if they didn't have that instrument and utilize it, I think there'd just be another rock band.
Mm.
If that's just my opinion, but I can go into that into another video about how important the flute is to Jethro Tull and Genesis and all that. But this is a great album and definitely one that I wish I could have picked up 50 years ago.
Definitely. Very good. Very good. Okay, you're going to pick for me, Neve?
Yep.
Ooh. Talking Books, Stevie Wonder. I think with him, my two favourite artists out of the Tamla sound were him, Marvin Gaye. It's just an amazing album. It really is. And it's bringing sort of African American music right into the forefront of people's imagination. Well, the new sort of sound of soul, and Stevie Wonder, great piano player, great singer and composer. I don't know, what's your favourite on that?
Mine?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say Superstition.
Superstition, yeah.
Yeah.
The clarinet on that is just incredible, and the beat and the rhythm, and it's something great and profound, and but also a great song that people just start singing, you know, Superstition, you know.
Yeah,
it's just a great album, and one of the Goliath albums, you know, like it's up there with What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, but that just incredible. I think interestingly, I can hear a lot of Stevie Wonder's music in Michael Kiwanuka, who is another artist from this country who I rate highly.
Yeah. Very nice. So that's Stevie Wonder, Talking Book. All right. Talking of Genesis.
There it is.
By Genesis. And I hope that this year I can go and see Steve Hackett doing the 50th anniversary tour for this album, because it is so good. It's got the best prog rock epic ever, which is Supper's Ready, which we can all enjoy. I got to hear that live when I saw him last year, which was really nice. It opens with Watcher of the Skies, that really nice keyboard intro. Where do you go wrong with that again? It's just a really, really great album, up there with my favorite Genesis albums of the Peter Gabriel era. And I highly recommend it, although I don't think I need to say that because I'm preaching to the preacher.
Needless to say, they're inducted into the Hall of Fame, and Fish came on and did a version of Watcher of the Skies, which I thought was, for a cover version, very, very good.
So yeah, this is a great album, and yeah, Foxtrot Genesis.
Absolutely brilliant album. Right, am I going back to albums now?
What have we got?
We have Toulouse Street by the Doobie Brothers.
We saw them live.
Yep. And it was with Tom Johnston in it as well. It didn't have, I'm sorry to say, I'm not a big fan of Michael McDonald, but you know, I know he's a great musician. But to me, the Doobies are a swamp rock band from some Oakland, and you know, all the bikers loved them, all the stuff, and I'm afraid that, to me, Michael McDonald, he sort of made them into sort of a middle of the road band, which they're not. But I digress. I just go, I'm looking down the tracks here, and you know, listen to the music. What can I say? Unbelievable. Rocking Down the Highway. Now, that is a song that will make you go over the speed limit on the highway or the motorway. Jesus Is Just All. That was the first song they played, wasn't it? Jesus Is Just All Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It's like, that there's other stuff on here which is just fantastic. Rocking Down the Highway, great song. But this is very early Doobies, and it is also wonderful Doobies. And like Taran Porter's bass on this is just incredible. But you've got not just Tom Johnson, but Patrick Simmons as well. Unbelievable, fantastic. Duluth Street by the Doobie Brothers.
I think I was the youngest there at that concert.
Yeah, I think you were.
Where was it? It was in
It
Manchester.
was in Manchester. One at the O2 in Manchester, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was right. It was it. No, that was the hotel where we were staying next to the football
That
ground.
was the football hotel, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, my next one. Let's see what I've got here. I'm going to talk about Can. And
Ooh, yes.
I'm going to try and say it, but please bear with me. I'm probably not going to get it right. So, Ege Bamiyasi, if I'm not mistaken. This is a really great album, and I think a lot of people forget how influential Can are, to the music scene. I mean, they go as far as Radiohead being influenced. Radiohead being influenced by Can, and they're such an important part of not just the prog rock scene, if you will, but the flow of music and the way it's structured and just how experimental it was. They're just such a great band, and I don't know what else to say because they're just so brilliant, and I think that they should get more recognition for being great.
Certainly I agree with you there, but certainly speaking for a lot of people in this country would just find Can's music just far too experimental.
Yeah,
it's a tragedy. You should give it a chance. I mean, that.
Radiohead was so inspired, and I know a lot of more experimental bands that came out from like the 90s onwards and stuff like that were really inspired by Can and what they did to the kind of krautrock scene as well, along with bands like Kraftwerk and all that. I think they're just important. And yeah,
one of the great bands. They're certainly one of the great German bands. Definitely. They're up there with the likes of Kraftwerk and Tangerine Dream.
Definitely.
And Ashra Temple.
So this is Can, and yeah. Shall I pick one out for you, Dan?
You can. Oh yes, Jeff Skunk Baxter. Jesus, Steely Dan. It's just Can't Buy a Thrill. It's just an unbelievable album. It just starts off with the most infectious songs. Do It Again is the album opener, which is just fantastic.
It gets you moving,
and it just gets you moving. When we saw the Doobie Brothers at the time, that they were going to come over with the Doobies, and it would have been a double header, which would have just been fantastic.
That would have been good.
Yeah, but I think it was just after, is it Walter Beck who died? One of the co-founders died of Steely Dan, so it never happened. But the actual, this is, I believe one of their early albums. It's just fantastic.
I think that when we went to New York, I think they were playing in New York, but
yes,
me and Mum wanted to go at the time.
No, I mean, it's just a great album. Really is.
I regret that now.
Aja is a good album as well, but this Set the Ball Rolling, definitely. And two, there's session musicians on there. I mean, obviously Becker and Fagan were both session musicians, like Jessica Baxter. But I mean, the songs are great and quirky, like nice lyrics, not very serious. The lyrics don't take themselves seriously, but the musicians, the music, unbelievable. So that's a great album. Can't Buy a Thrill by Steely Dan.
Very nice. I'm new to this album and I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah.
So my next one, I'm going to take a break from prog for a second on my behalf, and I'm going to talk about the greatest metal band that has ever existed. Black
They
Sabbath,
invented it all.
Volume 4. They invented it, and it's got my favorite guitarist of all time on this album.
Yeah.
This is so good, and I think Snowblind is probably my favorite song. Now, unfortunately, I don't think I'm allowed to talk about what it's about on YouTube, but you can probably guess
By the title, yeah.
what it's about if you know the album and the group. I love Black Sabbath. This isn't my favorite of their discography. I'd say my favorite is probably Master of Reality, which came out the year before. And it's Black Sabbath. Where do you go wrong? And I think this album also has Changes on it, which is a really lovely song as well.
Yeah.
And I think that was the single, if I'm not wrong, because I have a little box of their singles, so I might be, I'm not sure. But it's absolutely amazing. Great musicianship, and Ozzy Osbourne's vocals and lyrics and everything, it just fits so nicely with the overall vibe of the music and all of that. With the guitar, those really intense riffs, which is why Tony Iommi is my favorite guitarist. He's nothing overly flashy. It's just all about the riffs.
Just gets the job done, doesn't he?
Yeah, the riffs, and Geezer Butler on the bass, absolutely amazing, and obviously Bill Ward.
100%.
Absolutely amazing lineup. My favorite Black Sabbath lineup, and yeah.
Well, to me, the only Black Sabbath lineup.
I do like some of the Dio era Black Sabbath stuff, but I prefer the Ozzy era. Yeah. Surprisingly, not really much of an Ozzy Osbourne solo stuff fan. I do think he's done some.
Because just like Black Sabbath needed Ozzy, so Tony, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward, they needed Ozzy as well, you know?
Yeah. All right. So your next one, Dan?
My next one is a band from Georgia, but you wouldn't have thought they were from the southern states of America. You'd have thought they were almost a pop group from England during the Beatles times, you know, and they had the what they call the Brit Invasion, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And this is number one by Big Star, massively under the radar of a lot of people. Came under my radar. You know, a friend of mine who I worked with said to me, "You have got to listen to this album." And then I sort of delved a bit, and then I realised what a classic album it is. This is number one. But Try Again is lovely. The India song, oh yes, and the Ballad of El Gudu, that's fantastic. 13, Don't Lie to Me. All of it is very good. And if you look at the lineup, they all got sort of very English names. They're all from, as I say, Georgia. Christopher Bell, Alex Chilton, you know. Again, a band that was blighted by tremendous tragedy, and had you know, they'd lived. Chris Bell and Alex Chilton they certainly should have got a lot more acclaim, but this album is certainly one of the great albums, without any doubt, of the 1970s. That's not just 1972, but it's just such a classic album. And people like, obviously, REM, Elvis Costello realised what a great band they were, you know?
Absolutely. I've never listened to that album, actually.
Oh, it's magnificent. It really is a magnificent album.
All right, my next one, Uriah Heep,
Ooh.
Demons and Wizards. This is a really, really great album. I love the idea of the keyboards being more pushed to the front, and they're more of like a kind of bluesy keyboard orientated band, which I really like, similar to Deep Purple. I was actually going to put a Deep Purple album in my list, but I don't have one to show. So
Made in Japan.
yeah, and also
Live one, yeah.
Machine Head also came out in
All right. Of course.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but this is a really great album. It's got Easy Living, which everyone knows. Rainbow Demon is probably my favorite from this album as well. The keyboards, I cannot get over them, and the vocals are fantastic. You know, just overall musicianship and songwriting. I think any prog fan would love this album.
Yeah, Mick Box I like. And Mick Box's guitaring he's getting underrated, because I'm sure that Iron Maiden, certainly have taken their sound from predominantly, I would say, Uriah Heep.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know for a fact that Iron Maiden are very inspired by Uriah Heep and a lot of prog rock bands, which people tend to forget. But they are a great band, and this is a great album.
Yeah. Certainly is.
Yeah. All right, do you want to pick from my one?
Yeah.
All right.
What can I tell you? I think I sort of, when we were talking about gigs I went to, alluded to this. This is the Europe 1972 album by The Dead. It's a collage of their best songs on their big European tour. So there's songs from not just London, but in Germany, in Denmark, in France, and wherever they went, they sold out a lot. I still think their live version of Sugar Magnolia and China Cat Sunflower, always us lot realise it's just called China Rider, because it always metamorphosises into that. It's all fantastic. What can I say? It's Jerry Garcia, Phil Lesh.
What can you say that you haven't said before?
Yeah, Bobby Weir, and Keith and Donna, and of course the late lamented Ron McKernan. Mr. Charlie, what a great song. And that's the sort of like raunchy blues that Pigpen loved. And this is basically, we didn't know it was going to be his swan song in Europe. And he lamentably died, I think, that year as well. It may have been in 1973, I don't know. But this is one of the great live albums. And an argument would say that would certainly be the best. I would say probably, for me, Live at the Fillmore by the Allman Brothers will probably be up there with that album.
Very nice.
And Live Dead.
So my next one. There we go. Larks, Tongues and Aspic.
Ooh.
King Crimson. It's a fantastic album. Not my favorite King Crimson album, but it's definitely probably my second or third. There is absolutely just nothing wrong with this album at all. And I remember the first time I ever heard it, it was just the most confusing thing that I had ever heard. So you can imagine how I reacted when I listened to bands like Can and Magma later down the line, if I thought this was a lot. I thought after a few listens that I just wanted more of this kind of music, and I wanted to hear more experimentation when I was listening to music. I didn't want the same chord played 4 times for 3 minutes. I just loved the non-linear structure of it all. I just loved the musicianship, obviously, the songwriting, and it's got the best lineup of musicians you can probably ask for on any album. You know, you've got obviously Robert Fripp, the brains behind the whole band. You got John Wetton on vocals and bass. You got Bill Bruford, possibly up there in my top 3 drummers of all time, and David Cross as well, who I think is severely underrated, but that's for another video.
Or underappreciated.
But this is a fantastic Fantastic, amazing album. Book of Saturday and Exiles are my favorite tracks from the album, and I'm happy I listened to it enough to start to enjoy it, because at first I did not understand or like it because I couldn't understand the album, but it's grown on me a lot, and I think those are the best albums, the ones that grow on you.
Absolutely. Forgive me, I'm not going to bring out the album because I forgot to bring it up, and I don't want to leave the video thing so far, but I will mention it.
I can pause the recording if you like, and you can go get it.
Can you just pause the recording?
All right, we're back again.
Yeah, so I'm now going to go into the realms of country rock. Possibly it's not going to be too much of interest to Neve, but she's starting to get hold of country rock as a wonderful music medium. I'm of course talking about this album, Power Glide, by the New Riders of the Purple Sage. They are, to call them a spin-off of The Dead is incorrect, although it was mainly the Dead's musicians on their first album. They then brought in another pedal steel guitarist because of Garcia's commitments to the Dead, and also Spencer Dryden they brought in from the Airplane because of Billy Kreutzmann's commitment to the Dead as well. Power Glide is a wonderful, wonderful album. It's got a cover version of I Don't Need No Doctor on it, but things like, Lochinvar, She'll Come Running Back to Me. I mean, John Dawson, or Marmaduke Dawson, had a great voice, but what a songwriter, what a lyricist. It doesn't come as no surprise that he was an English teacher who'd studied, I think, at Yale, one of the Ivy League. I mean, an incredibly intelligent man. And he and Dave Nelson, David Talbot, decided to form this band. But they, it's just an incredible album. The Lochinvar just is the lyrics on that are just fantastic. They all do other stuff like covers like Dim Lights, Thick Smoke. My family's always been in whiskey. I think that may have been on Gypsy Cowboy, but it doesn't matter. The Power Glide itself is a wonderful album, and I definitely recommend it.
Very nice. So my next one, I'm not sure if you're as big of a fan of Curved Air, but I've been getting into them quite recently, and this album is probably my favorite of what I've listened to them so far, because I got a box set of their albums fairly recently. And I just love the songwriting on this album and the musicianship. I absolutely love Curved Air's musician breaks when they just kind of break off and they do kind of jamming and very organized, structured music. It always sounds really, really nice. The vocals are really great as well. I think that Sonia Christine is a really good singer. She's probably one of my inspirations when it comes to singing, because I don't have the most kind of loud, powerful voice, and I always am more drawn to singers who are a bit like me and don't project as much. That's not me trying to be insulting, it's just how it is. But it's an absolutely fantastic album, and thanks to the people who recommended me this band, actually. I think it was you guys again recommending me this group, so thank you very much. I've been enjoying their music quite a lot recently.
Excellent. Do you want to pull out one?
Yep.
Yes. This is it Pink Moon by Nick Drake?
Yeah.
Again, another person, a real tragic life, a life cut so short by suicide. He did leave us though with particularly two majestic albums, one of which is this. As a British songwriter, I think there's some fantastic and introspective stuff. And he was just, a lot of his songs, you can just see this sort of torment and depression that he had. But again, it's to me an essential album of 1972. Again, when it came out, it wasn't too rated and everything like that. It's only towards the end of the 80s that really people realised what a wonderful album. And people like, Mark Hollis from Talk Talk, who loved his music and everything like that. It's just a great album. It really is.
Very nice.
Man, a life cut so brutally short.
All right. My next one. Focus 3. I have been getting quite into this group as well recently. I listened to I think it's Moving Waves, the one that I think might have been before or just after, with where's the name of that song? Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
But that's not on this album. This has some very nice stuff on it though.
Sylvia, I love on that.
Yeah, that was what I was just about to say. I love the musicianship. Again, use of the flute, the most prog instrument that you can get. And I think that they are quite underrated because, everyone knows Hocus Pocus from Baby Driver, which was a film that came out a few years ago. But they have a lot of other really great songs and great albums.
Jan Ackerman's great guitarist.
Exactly. So if you only know Focus for Hocus Pocus, definitely try out this album and Moving Waves.
Yep, definite.
Okay.
So I'm now going to bring out probably one of the great albums of all time now. Played, produced, sung, composed by one person. Yes, I'm talking about Something Anything by the Todd Meister, Todd Rundgren. Came out in 1972. I won't go on too much about it, other than We're Not Worthy. And also, the album opener, I Saw the Light, is great, but it's the one everyone knows, a single. But the song after that wouldn't have made any difference. It's just incredible. Black Mariah is...
I think that song's in Almost Famous.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Also, as I say, Black Mariah. It's just a fantastic album. It really is. And we talk about musicianship. He played in all the instruments, and also his voice, Rundgren's voice. It can be hard rock, it can be prog rock, it can be soul even. It's just, and his vocal range is just unbelievable. I mean, if you listen to, he's a bit like Bowie. In other words, he's quite comfortable in all sort of musical media. If you listen to the Utopia album, it's outrageous progressive rock, where you would call this a sort of mixture of sort of very soft kind of ballads, the couple of rocky numbers, as I say, Black Mariah, and also soul. It's just, to me, it's one of the best albums of all time. So this is Todd Rundgren, Something Anything.
All right, so I've only got one left. Oh wait, no, I've got two. You've got a few left actually in your pile, Dad.
Yeah.
So my next one I'm going to talk about is Caravan, and this is Waterloo Lily. I know a lot of people don't rate this album very highly in the Caravan discography, but I enjoy it quite a lot actually. And although it's not my favorite of the year, probably not really my favorite album of Caravan. My favorite album of theirs is obviously In the Land of Grey and Pink. I still think that the songwriting and the musicianship and the kind of quirky English vibes that they have resonate throughout their career and resonated on this album. And I'm a bit of a sucker for that. So yeah.
Why not?
Caravan. All right, Dad, next one for you.
I've run out of albums, by the way.
You've got 5 here, so or 4 now. I'm gonna pull out one. We'll do this one.
Exile on Main Street has to be there. in the top 3 of that year. Probably the best Stones album with Sticky Fingers. I think it slightly tops it. Tumbling Dice, there's some great songs on this, just some great song. And it's the Rolling Stones at their majestic best. It is a simple must. It really is. And I think Mick and Keith haven't written a lot better songs for me than on Exile on Main Street. And also it has the wonderment that is Mick Taylor. I mean, Mick Taylor to me was and will be the greatest guitarist the Stones ever had and lost.
Very nice. All right, so my final one, I'm closing it with my favorite album of the year, Close to the Edge by Yes. This is my favorite Yes album and probably the best of the year for me personally. I know I wasn't there, but I can still look back on it.
Yeah.
This album is only 3 tracks long, but everything about it is just amazing. And you've got the best Yes lineup on it. You've got the best musicians. You've got just, I know a lot of people criticize the songwriting for Yes because they think it's just kind of strange, but I really do find the lyrics very interesting. You know, not just the title track, which is probably one of the greatest tracks ever written, but And You and I and Siberian Cartridge are both just amazing songs. And me and Johan, we talk about this quite a lot. Our only criticism of the album is that it gets cut off too short at the end when you're getting into that final part of the song, and it just kind of starts to fade out and you're like, oh no, more of that. It's like Chiquitita by ABBA. The final part of that song, it's too short. You know, once you're getting into it, it just cuts off. And you know,
yeah, it's like one of my mates, Jeremy, he said the only problem with Freebird by Lynyrd Skynyrd is it's not long enough.
Well, they play it long live, I guess. But this is such a great album. Vocals on point, bass playing on point, keys playing on point, guitar playing on point, and obviously drums on point.
Excellent album.
Best Yes album. All right, Dad, you've got 4 left here,
which we can share up.
I guess we could. A few of them I don't not have much to talk about, but I guess I'll just chime in.
Yeah.
All right, here's your next one, Dad.
Oh, the Eagles' first album. I think this band did the most to bring American country rock to the shores of Europe and the world, really. And ironically, if you look at the album cover itself with the eagle above, the Arizona plateaus and everything like that, you are mistakenly led to believe that this album was recorded in some recording studio in California or Arizona or New Mexico, when it was just recorded up the road, you know, by Glyn Johns near Thames Ditton. A more American type of music you couldn't sort of see, but production on that is great. But to me, this particular album and the ones that followed it, up till Hotel California, were my favourite lineup. You know, you had Don Henley, Glenn Frey, Tom Felder, Randy Meisner, and of course Bernie Leadon. And Bernie Leadon sort of like was a sort of real country influence to the Eagles. But this album, got great. Take It Easy. I mean, everybody knows Take It Easy by the Eagles. It's fantastic. But
I think it's the song that opened up our driving playlist.
Yeah, but there's also other stuff which is fantastic on this album. For me, it's a great album. I think Desperado is better. I think One of His Nights probably is better, but it doesn't stop it being a brilliant album. As I say, that style of music, when Bernie left and Joe Walsh came in, another great guitarist incidentally, the Eagles sort of changed much more, became more rocky, more that kind of stuff. And I think probably it was financially a great move by Don Henley and obviously Glenn Frey to get Joe Walsh in, because that seemed to be the last part of the jigsaw that catapulted the band into superstar status. Obviously, with the ex-Poco bassist, Timothy B. Schmidt, who's just wonderful as well, they just went from strength to strength.
Cool. All right.
What do you think, hon?
Oh, I like that album. I've been
Yeah.
getting into them quite a lot. I actually got a box set up there somewhere recently. I think it's the same one I got you for Christmas.
Yeah.
So I decided to get it for myself as well. All right. We can talk about this one together if you like.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
One of the seminal albums. Oh, it's certainly, to me, the best album that Wishbone Ash ever made, full stop. And has so many memories.
I have a copy of this album signed actually behind me.
Yeah.
From the New Day Festival last year.
Oh yes, obviously, yeah, Martin Turner, wasn't it?
Yeah. I really like this album. I know for a fact that it took too long for me to listen to it. 'Cause Iron Maiden loved them so dearly. And I just really enjoyed this album a lot. I think it took me seeing them live to look more into it. Because sometimes that happens. Sometimes, a live performance can really change your approach to a group, Some bands perform better live, some don't.
Yeah.
But this is a really good album. Thanks for it.
I would say without any doubt that it, to me, is their best album.
Yeah. I like Pilgrimage as well.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the others are bad.
No, I'm just saying.
But it's just that Argus is so wonderful. Oh, Lou Reed Transformer. Take a walk on the wild side. Lou Reed Transformer. It's so influential, this album. It's influenced all sorts of bands, particularly in the States, like the Pixies. It influenced the Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot of English bands, I reckon Radiohead probably had a big collection of Lou Reed albums, particularly this one as well, Transformer. And this is going into sort of Lou Reed's phase of this sort of dark apocalyptic rock.
I've just read something on the back here.
Sorry?
This album was produced by David Bowie.
Yeah.
I just read that on the back here.
Yeah, the two great minds working together. If you have Lou Reed and David Bowie on it, you kind of want to a winner, aren't you? Really?
Yeah.
This album is, as I say, essential to the progression of sort of almost like that East Coast New York sound. It came out like television and things like that. But what a great writer Lou Reed was, and what a great album. And more I think about it, we're sort of pulling out all these albums, and you think to yourself, you've got that guy who made that book about the 1971 being the greatest year of music of all time. Bloody hell, I thought, well, 1972 isn't exactly that bad either.
No.
You know what I mean? As I say, Transformer, Lou Reed, definite must.
This one I can't really talk much about because I don't really know much about it, but you can definitely talk about it.
Stephen Stills, Manassas. What can I tell you? What I just said. 72 is a great year. And this is a collection. This is almost what you would call a super group, in the sense that you've got Fuzzy Samuel, you've got the great Chris Hillman of the Flying Burrito Brothers, and other great country rock bands. You've got Al Perkins, steel guitar player, Joe Lala, and you've got that. And every single day, it's as if Steve brought out this album to show all the different types of music that surrounded him. So you've got one side which is sort of like rock, you've got one side which is blues, you've got one side which is country, western country rock, and you've got one big Latino side, which is included a lot of great Latin kind of music there. And you've got all these musicians there who are just wonderful. It all comes together. It doesn't matter. It's the most beautiful song, has great memories for me. And also a little bit of a digression here. This album was largely recorded in England, because at the time Steve Stills was living in England, and he bought Ringo Starr's big house. It was in this village in Surrey, which overlooked the River Thames, and he used to be composing his music. You look out of the window, see the Thames, but this is the Thames, which is very countrified, yeah. And during the summer, you could see the gardener cutting the lawns of all the houses in the area, and he asked, what his name was, and the bloke said, "Oh, my name's Johnny." Went down to the pub. By the end of the evening, Stills had written another song, Johnny's Garden, which is about an English gardener. It's not about the mountains and Texas or anything. It was about this bloke. I think that's great. And of course, Johnny's Garden is one of my favourite songs. It's beautiful. No. Don't you think so?
I've only heard it a few times, I think.
It's nice though, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so this was a very long video. Thanks for sticking around if you've stuck around till the end. Let us know what your favorite 1972 albums are, or memories, or whatever you'd like to talk about. All in the description, as I said, all the merch, etc. down below. And I thought I'd quickly mention, I saw Gong the other night in Brighton, and I thought they were really good. So definitely go and see them if you can. They're really good.
Was any lager being thrown about the place?
Not quite. I think everyone was pretty content.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and
well, I enjoyed that.
Apologies for the lack of uploads for the past 3 weeks. I've been very busy. But yeah, maybe do more Zoom style videos. If you like that, let us know. And yeah, bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye.